right, Jackson, good to see you, buddy. Did you get a haircut?
No, it's in the top knot.
Okay. Of course it is. Of course in the top knot. Yeah, you came in. I was like, dang, cut all his hair off.
No, I've thought about it seriously for a few months now, but I can't bring myself to do it.
Oh, you're in that phase where you're constantly questioning, should I cut off my hair?
Well, it gets into that awkward phase, and then it starts bumping over your collar, and then it just starts looking weird. And
Yeah, I don't have that phase. I'm not cool enough to pull off the long hair. No, definitely not the long hair. My phase is always, should I get contacts again? But I hate wearing stuff in my eyes. I only have one eye that works. So then I wear one in one eye, and then I feel like I'm lopsided the whole friggin' time.
Unsymmetrical.
Yeah, so I won't get contacts, and you won't cut your hair. Blood packed right here.
I gave him to the first of the year, so I'll do it to the first of the year.
Deal. First of the year. I'll commit to that, too. How's life been? I haven't seen you in a little bit.
Yeah, man. What was the last time?
It's probably been 9 months or so.
The Opry, right?
When was that? I feel like the Opry, that when I see you, it's always like,
yeah,
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
like, you don't even really get to talk. It's always like,
totally.
Jax, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Okay, I got to go do my thing. You go do your thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it cool, though, you get to do the Opry, though?
It's awesome.
Like, you just get to do the Opry.
Yeah. They're like, so when can you come back?
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
Like,
awesome.
compared to the first time that you were invited, I know for me, like the third time I played it, it was like, oh, this is really fun. Because the first time, and I'd like to hear your experience, the first time, at least for me, it was a big holy crap night. And there are people there that I care about, and it's a big to-do for me to go on for 12 minutes. When I normally, if I'm touring, doing stand-up, I'm doing an hour show. But this is like, everybody's there. You got a parking spot. They made a cake. Somebody made a cake. I don't know where the cake came from. And it's like, and then the lights, and I can't even really see the people because I'm nervous. And you get off, and you're like, how was it? And it doesn't matter because everybody's like, you did awesome. And I'm like, did I really? Yeah. So all of that's 1. 2, and then 3 is where you just get to get in your groove and be like, oh, this is just cool. So what was your first Opry experience like? And then now what's it like? Because I'm betting it's a little bit different now.
The first time, man, was a lot of pressure, as you can imagine. You know, I had touched that circle only one time before. I was about 15. We flew down just to see what it was all about and whatnot. And so knowing that I was stepping in that circle, holding true to the deal that I made myself, the deal that I made with myself then, that I wouldn't step back in that circle without a guitar, was pretty heavy for me. And I took a minute to one last look at it before I did. Like, I didn't sound check in it or nothing.
Really?
You know, I made sure that I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a big thing for me. And they really do a great job making it fun. All the doors are open to the green rooms. You know, you can hear music throughout the entire place, you know. And it's really a lovely room to sing in. It really is. Like, they do such a great job. You just see the silhouettes, and it goes all the way to the ceiling. You know, it really is magic. But I feel what you're saying, though. Like, you get 3 songs.
Yeah, it's quick.
And we're out here doing, 45 hours, hour and a half.
Yeah.
And like, coming down after that is always tough. I love being in the Porter Wagner room, and the last time a couple weeks ago at the Opry, my mom came. She flew down with a couple girlfriends. I mean, we had 25 people in Porter's room, and it's always such a great time. But it's like, okay, everybody, we're at the Opry, and this is like high stakes here.
Yeah, and it's almost too, it's like it gets, in the best way, it starts to be normal because they treat you like you're just part of the group.
They remember you when you come back.
Yeah.
They really do. And playing with the Opry band, man, is always it's such a different animal, and it's so awesome to get to do that with them, because one thing I've noticed is that they've taken my songs and not only put a saddle on them, but they've choked up on the reins on them a good bit, and it's a different feeling you get with the Opry band that's like really great, and they're all top of the top players, but they really have taken on a few of mine. I mean, the few times that we've been there, and just given it a different feel from what I do with my boys. What I do with my men is all adrenaline and controlled chaos. them, there's just like, we're going to sit right here and do this.
Yeah, I think.
It's just, they remember you when you come back, dude. Everybody in that building.
Yeah.
You know.
And this been last Opry story that I'll share, but I think at this point I've probably played it about 15 or 16 times, and I've hosted it or the TV show 30. So I've spent a good amount of time there.
Mm-hmm.
And my stepdad was coming into town, and he had never been to the Opry, and he was coming early, and I wasn't playing that night, but he was coming kind of last minute, and I was like, "Hey, my stepdad's coming to town. Is there any way I can take him and show him around?" And they were like, I swear to God. They're like, "Yeah, we'll leave the doors unlocked. Just go on up and lock the doors whenever you're gone." To the whole Opry. They left the doors unlocked to the whole Opry, and they were like, "Just have at it. Just when you're done, just lock the doors." Like it was like my aunt's house. And she's like, "Hey, just lock up when you're done." And I was like, "Man, that is a lot of trust. That is a lot of trust."
You got the keys to the Opry,
Yeah,
dude.
I didn't even need the keys. They're just gonna leave it unlocked for anybody.
Oh my God.
You been on the road a bunch?
A good bit, man. We did get to take I gave the boys about a month and a week off. I had some shows in there, but we've been touring a lot. And it was weird coming back to it after that long of a break. It's just like you do something 3 or 4 times a week, every week for the last 2.5, 3 years. Then you stop for 30 days.
Oh yeah, you get rust develops.
It was
quick.
so weird coming back. We were all like, oh God. But no, since then we've been on the road every weekend, and we're not really stopping until December. We got Miss Lainey Wilson coming up.
Yeah, that's cool.
We got that last week of August that starts, and then it runs all the way to November.
What are your weeks like when you're home for 4 days before you head back out? Like, what do you do in those 4 days in town?
If I get 4, that's lucky. But most of the time, I'm trying to still make a name for myself. Interviews, working here in town. I finally bought a place out of town and a little cabin in the woods, and
Really?
I like to spend my time up there when I can. Like I'll get off the bus and go straight there.
We have bus call kind of nearish that area.
No, bus call's back here in town.
Oh, it is?
I actually park at my PM's place, and it's right close there. But
Are you riding much in town when you're here in those days, or do you write on a schedule? Meaning you're going to write these, or do you write it anytime it comes over you?
anytime that we can make it happen, man. But I moved down here in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, and I had already been writing. I'd already had 2 records out by then that I put out by myself, who are not what we are now, But my catalog was so big. I mean, when I got down here, I was doing nothing but 2-a-days, when I got with Luke. And so there is songs in the bank, I write a lot with my boys on the road, we were just on the bus last week making demos in the back.
Oof, bus riding, man. Yeah. Well, bus riding sucks, but bus writing, that's tough because you got to be feeling like up to it.
Yeah, it is. You buy the ticket, you take the ride for sure. On this record that we're getting ready to put out here, I mean, half of those songs came from a bus trip, and that was Luke, Dick, and Ryan Tyndall, and me in the back of the bus for like 2 weeks.
Do you just keep a rig in the bus, or do you record it? Yeah.
Yeah, we got a rig on the bus, and my drummer, Sean Mercer, I mean, he and I are coming up right on a decade together, and he's a producer and engineer in Baltimore. So for pretty much the first 2 records that I did were with him and my boys and whatnot.
And you can do it on the road.
Oh yeah,
very easily. Which is,
I mean, we'll listen back to sets in the front lounge all the time.
No way.
Oh yeah, we are full on dissecting. Like you need to be doing this here.
I can't listen to a show I've done.
Take your medicine.
Show or radio show. I want to vomit. I don't want the medicine.
Yeah,
I probably need the medicine. But what are you listening for? If you're listening, let's say a show. You listen to a show back. What are you listening for?
Flaws, and there's certain. We don't. Every night is different to some aspect. Every single song has some different feel to it because there's no click, there's no tracks, there's no nothing. It's just us up there, And sometimes you'll catch a vibe where you need to you really need to run down that feeling of the song that you're looking for.
So will you find what went right though too if it's different? Like let's say you're listening to a song and you say you're looking for flaws, and again you're not playing to a click, so it's never going to be exactly right on. But if you hear something that's kind of special, will you also chase that down?
Absolutely, that leads to the betterment of evolution of songs. Wings was off of Greenbrook was a great example of that. You know, Wings went from a 3-minute, 40-second song to like, you're looking at 5:50, 6 minutes at the end of it on the live record, you know, and that's all due to composure, you know.
What do you mean? Like, what did you hear that made you want to change the way you were picturing that song?
It's honestly just vibing with the dudes on stage, you know. In the beginning of us, we were really trying hard to sound like Explosions in the Sky. You know, I loved that big cinematic band sound. You know, epic guitars, just great playing. But when you, especially, I mean, you get sound checks and whatnot, you go off on a tangent. And you're like, oh, we need to do something like that.
Will you listen to sound checks too?
Not so much.
Yep.
We're about to start taking stuff for Sean from Soundchecks and putting it into our mobile rig and whatnot and building upon that stuff.
Sure.
But no, a lot of ideas come from Soundcheck though. Of a lot of ideas of composure, like it's just vibes that we fall into, and we can make it last for a while. You know, Brandon just has to.
You can jam band it if you need to.
Yes.
You can go to Fish real quick.
Big jam band vibes.
Yeah. Do you have to sometimes keep yourself from jam band because you're feeling it so much?
Yeah, man. And I am always for the song being longer. Like let the music say all that you could not. That's what the music's supposed to be, is all that the spoken word cannot, you know. So of course I want more. I want the best playing for what the song calls for as possible.
Can you give visual cues to your guys at this point because you've been together so long and they know?
Yeah.
Let's just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody stumbles, like if Sean misses a fill, which I think last show he broke like 4 sticks. So you break a stick in the middle of something and you're like, everybody turns around. It's like, oh God, you know. But that's communication between your men. That's worth something.
Sure.
Everybody is on their toes, you know. Yeah.
Because I think I would go full Dave Matthews. I'd just be feeling it. Hour later, we've done 3 songs.
Yeah.
You know, just one of those nights where you're just, and then the crowd would be like, dude, you played 3 freaking songs. I'm like, yeah, my bad. We're really feeling that second song that we did. I don't really have the ability to do that, but I feel like I would get into that. Like if it was feeling good, I would just continue that. You have 3 other siblings, right?
That's right.
Any of them do music?
My brother played guitar with Linwood Taylor a few times around town. He's just like me at heart, a dirty hippie. He didn't play acoustic. It's not really, you know. He's a great admirer of music. I mean, my brother is everything from bluegrass to Turnpike to John Butler Trio to all the classic rock stuff to all the ska stuff to Northeast Sky Orchestra.
Like loves it or plays it?
Just loves it.
Yeah.
It's always around. It's always been around in our family. My sister sang in the choir her entire life. She never wanted to do what I did. Once she gets something in her head, the way that it's supposed to sound in her head, that's the way that it stays. Big powerhouse vocal. So she was a singer too. Cody liked to think he could play the drums, but he really couldn't.
Where did the music come from in your family?
My dad was a very big admirer of it. I mean, I remember it on every time we were in the truck. Any trip that we ever went on, it was always on.
What was always on? Like what comes to mind on any trip?
Our stations were 98.7, Big 100.3, which was the rock station, classic rock station. So playing all the oldies ish. And obviously the 2 country stations from back home, which is 93.1, 98.7.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, I remember watching Lane and my sister in the choir, and I remember watching her in the plays that they used to do up at the middle school, and so it was always around. You know, it was always around, and then they figured out I could hold a tune. You know, at a very early age.
How old were you when you could actually sing?
Belting it out, not till I was. I mean, just singing in the truck. I mean, ankle biter size.
Yeah, I mean, there's an indication at 7, 8, 9 that there's some promise here.
Yeah, I wasn't. It wasn't like that. It didn't come. The start of my dedication didn't come until the house burned down, and that was probably I was 13 when that happened.
Talk about that.
So, me and my old man were trying to thaw out a pipe on what we thought it was right next to the sink, which in reality it was 20 yards across the house. So we weren't even in the right spot. But we threw a little heater in an enclosure outside of it, and it caught the roof and burned from the top down. While I was still inside of it, I was getting up for school and breathing in smoke. And yeah, February 22nd, 3 inches of snow on the ground, 200-foot flames in the sky.
Wow, it was snowing too.
Yeah, but while we were rebuilding that, we took 4 months off of work. My dad's a bricklayer, stonemason. We Nicholson masonry anyway. Took 4 months off of work, and while we were rebuilding, I would sit up there in the evenings, and our house was connected by a breezeway on a second story, an office space for business. We lived in there for 4 months while we rebuilt the house. But I would sit up there in the evenings and play and learn songs, and it was a very big escape for me. I mean, we just got smashed into like 2 bedrooms and not a lot of space, so I needed to get away from people.
Where'd you get that guitar?
I had gotten one for Christmas. It was a little Fender. I remember telling my mom I wanted to fiddle with it because I thought it would be cool, and I took about a month of lessons, and that fell out of the routine real quick because I was doing football, lacrosse. I was wrestling at that time. I said football. But yeah, man, it was a little Fender, and it was. I don't think it even played. It didn't even plug in. And then the house burned, and then it started.
So you're just playing guitar at random hours? I mean,
Evening time.
Okay, so no lessons.
I had taken about a month of lessons.
You quit,
and
though.
Then, yeah, I was like, okay, this isn't.
Did you have enough to go off of? I guess with that month.
Yeah, I had some shapes going, but then
a couple bar chords.
Yeah, I hate bar chords. I don't do bar chords to this day.
Capo?
I hate
Yeah, I mean,
capo.
Yeah.
Capo and alternate tunings are the way to go, man. It's alternate tunings because bar chords just restrict it. You know, it chokes the neck of the guitar, it chokes that sound. Open tunings is just all wide open. You know.
The problem with open tuning though is you have to tune it that way. So that means you have extra guitars with you that are just tuned open. Where if I'm doing stand up and I'm playing funny songs, I've got one guitar with me, and I'm like, it's gonna take me forever to tune it. So I'm capo. I'm straight capo all the way. I'm choking it if I have to.
Love me a capo, dude.
Yeah. So the first songs you learned, was it? For me, it was a lot of classic rock stuff. And I'm not the player that you are, but I remember just what I would learn. I would learn like Metallica stuff because some of that stuff was easy. I'd learn like some using like tab. I would learn like some picking patterns.
Ultimate guitar tabs.
Yeah. I don't even use tab anymore, but at the beginning it was really good for me to learn. 6/3. What was that for you? What did you want to learn? What did you learn first?
I can't read music at all. Period. Whatsoever. I don't read a chart. I hardly know the Nashville scales here. Like I know enough to understand what they're talking about, but I've never been able to. It doesn't translate with me, so it's all by ear, you know. That being said, the first things that I kind of learned when I started playing guitar, I mean, Simple Man, Smoke on the Water, those are all like ditties.
I
that
should have
they
said
teach
Smoke
you.
on the Water.
Smoke on the Water is the biggest one. Seven Nation Army.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like when you talk about getting into like Ultimate Guitar Tabs and like all that kind of stuff, like the first ones that I remember putting together all the way through were Drake White songs. Probably the first ever was probably Simple Man, Leonard Skinner. That was probably the first one, top to bottom, that I learned all the way through.
How long until you could actually sing and play?
Oh God, it took a while, man. It was, and I'm still not the player that I want to be when it comes to this hand, or this one, But it took a while, and my timing used to be so weird, man.
What about, because just having, getting to know you a little bit over the past couple of years and the time that we spent together, you're not a guy that's going to walk into a room and just demand everybody's attention when everybody's hanging around talking. You don't say a lot. You have a big presence because you're a big guy and you definitely dress like you're going to murder someone if they cross you. However, I would not, just by knowing you as a person, think, well, this is a guy that wants to get on stage and sing or talk or entertain in any way whatsoever. Now, did you have the same demeanor younger? And was your dad and your family like, you want to do what?
My dad never wanted us to lay brick and block, so anything other than that was very welcome in our family. Now my siblings have taken over the family business and they're doing that, but they all went out and had their time in the world and chased their dreams and have come home and, all that stuff. But no, he wanted anything other than what he was doing.
He had to be so surprised, though, and maybe he wasn't, but that you wanted to go entertain people. Because again, if you meet you don't think, well, he wants to get on stage and just rock people's face off. You're like, that guy's probably, I don't know what kind of mob he's in, or what kind of cattle he's trading. Who knows? But your personality on stage is large. Your personality here, it's very compact.
Mm-hmm.
Your demeanor is very straightforward. People can hear that. I used to be scared of you. Not anymore. But I used to be scared of you when I first met you because I was like, this dude, he hates my guts. But I would compare like you, and I'm friends with Kane Brown. I thought Kane hated me because Kane doesn't say a whole lot.
No.
Man, a few words.
Yeah.
Now that I know Kane and love Kane, like that's one of the things I love about him. It's like he's still who he is off stage, but then when he gets on stage, he puts it on. Yeah. Again, were they surprised that you wanted to get on stage and put it on?
It definitely took some time to grow on my mom. She didn't quite not fathom it at first, but she was like, I don't know, honey. I don't know. And it took about 2.5, 3 years before she was like, okay, let's go, baby.
It's also got to be weird, too, because where I come from, nobody did anything in the art community because they worked at the mill. Mm-hmm. Like they worked at the mill or they had a job, just because where you and I both come from, it's not like people move off and are, for my case, work on radio and TV, or in your case, they don't move off and become country stars.
Yeah.
So it's not that people say you can't do it, but they don't know that you can because no one else really does it around.
Yeah, and the only references we had from around home, we come from construction. We don't know the music industry,
Right.
The only references we had were Brothers Osborne and Maggie Rose. Maggie's from Mechanicsville, and the brothers are from literally 20. Used to light fires the same places they did.
Yeah.
That
had to be cool, though, to see those guys and see that they were doing it. And because again, they're as normal. I know their parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're as normal and blue collar.
And there's like 250 of them.
Of them.
Of the Osborne. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. I've met 15 uncles of theirs. They've been really good to us over the last couple of years. The first big ass show that we did was Delaware State Fair with them, and I remember choking so bad. I choked on Hallelujah, on Ryan Bingham's Hallelujah. I've been playing the song for 3 years, and just too much happening in my brain. Just completely choked on it. But that was the biggest show that we had done to that date, and they were so good to us, and have continued to be. But they were the only people close to us that we were like, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like,
And humans
John,
like us can do that.
yeah.
Because I think representation, regardless of what it is, you were kind of being represented by somebody, showing that if you want to do it and you're good enough to do it and you work hard enough to do it, it actually can be done.
Yeah.
So they were super cool. I mean, they are super cool. I love them, both of them, so much.
Yeah.
And you knew a lot of the Osborne family, or at least they were around.
They were around. They were down in Deal. We were a little ways north, but we've met several occasions, and they're a riot.
The whole family? Because
Their dad is, I mean, here on me.
Yeah.
You know.
Is your dad a
funny
big old
guy.
boy?
Well, he's about my size, but
Well, you're a pretty big old boy.
When he walks in a room, you think he's a lot bigger than he is.
I would say, wow, I don't know. You feel pretty big anyway.
He's a presence.
What's up with you? Like your first show, and I say show as in the first time you ever wanted to get on stage and play for someone that wasn't sitting outside where you're building your new house.
The first time I ever stepped on stage with a guitar, it was my uncle's guitar. He played in the Air Force a little bit, and it was a Washburn. I didn't even have a guitar strap. That was the only guitar that I knew of in the vicinity of my family.
You're just holding it almost Johnny Cash style?
I threw my foot on a bucket.
Put it on your knee?
Literally, and just put it on my knee and went. And I did. My mother's grandfather built the train station that is now the Irish pub that I started in. It's like the restaurant in town. It's the bar. But yeah, man, it was 2 Drake White songs and Cost of Living by Ronnie Dunn. Those were the first 3 songs I played on stage with a guitar. And that's in the middle of the town that my parents grew up in, so they know everybody and their mother. So you have a attic bar full of 150 people, and you could hear a pin drop.
Really?
It was awesome.
What about the first show you ever got paid to do?
Oh my God. The first paid gig I ever had, I got paid $80. It was a Thursday night. I had just gotten out of football practice and didn't even shower and rolled over there in my Bronco. And you know those uncles that aren't really your uncles?
Yeah.
Okay. I have an Uncle Marv, right? And he also plays music. He did Jimmy Buffett for years, Marshall Tucker, all that kind of stuff, just, bar gigs. And he was like, well, you can come up here and kill 2 hours if you want. And I mean, we did 250 shows together, maybe, over the span of 4 or 5 years, But yeah, it was a car wash. It was a car wash service throwing a party, like a company party, at a car wash, and it was pretty fun.
Is that where you'd say you kind of got your chops? Those shows with him, like you really started to understand a little bit of who you were as a performer for the first time, doing those 250 shows?
Yeah, man. I mean, those are really long sets, acoustic. Just by yourself, play as many songs as you possibly can.
There would be the stories of the Beatles when they would play in Germany, and they play 8-hour sets to a bar. And they'd sometimes play the same song 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody there most of the time. But they would credit that to where they really found themselves, or at least the early version of who they were musically, because they just had to figure out how to keep going. And the more you go, the better you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I feel like
you got to know what you're capable of.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like that was that early part of you. When did you decide you want to move to Nashville? That's a big move.
It took a while. I had been making music in Baltimore with Sean by the time all of this is happening, So it was a I don't want to say a blimp on the radar, but it was not my first thought. And as we started coming down here a little bit more to check out a little bit more of what was going on.
Yeah, what would you do?
The first time we came, I was 15, and we drove down. And we stopped in like Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge and played a couple open mics and stuff, and did the Ryman, did the Opry, all the touristy things. Worked with a couple people down here very lightly and whatnot, but it was not my first thought. What made me want to do it is that I signed a record deal. You know, I just like I don't can't do this from back home. I need to be here.
Do what?
The whole artist shebang. You know, I need to be accessible down here. As time goes on, it won't always be the case for everybody. But for a time, I love this city. I love being here. I love these back alleys that I've walked for a long time now. I mean, yeah, man.
Is it starting to feel like home?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's when you're not in one place for more than 72 hours for a long time. The short answer is yes, it is. I've been down here since 2020 now. It reminds me of my home a lot. Anywhere in the world I could be out in LA, but this feels a lot like home to me.
Why'd you name the record On the Back of My Dreams?
So On the Back of My Dreams is a line that we chose from Jane. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. It's pretty witchy and mountainous. So growing up on the East Coast, you're right there at the foothills of West Virginia and Kentucky and all that stuff. And I wanted to do something that just sounded like Appalachia, you know what I mean? There's another song on this record called Sweet Appalachia that's all about the Yaak River and the triangle of where we come from. But that line, I mean, we named the last record Greenbrook after my favorite song on the record, I didn't want to name it Jane, so I just picked a line out of there that sounded dope. And but across the whole record, man, there is a flair of Jane in all of these songs. There's that moment of bliss that you have when you first wake up and it's right before reality comes back and hits you. It's the elongation of that. They all have a little bit of that flair. Some of them are a little manic. Some of them are a little intense. They're all little fever dreams and vignettes, man, some of them are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are just having a good time.
Do you feel like this is a bit of a concept album?
Yes. Yeah.
I love concept albums now. It's like the only album I would make.
The record is split down the middle, and I had been working towards that for a good long while now. I mean, since Greenbrook, I knew I wanted there to be a definite color change. You know what I mean? The first half of this record is really the reds and oranges and deep greens of it, and then the second half is all the blues and purples and blacks. It's the darkness of it, which is the second half of it. There's a couple of different characters throughout this record, man. They're all extensions of me, But yeah, man, it's a trippy little record. There's some sonic footprints on here that are wild. Some really great grooves.
Talk about Duct Tape Heart.
Oh, Duct Tape, man.
Because when you're saying that, that's what comes to mind.
So, so that's me, Luke Dick, Casey Beathard, and there was like 3 straight Christmases in a row I got nothing but duct tape for Christmas. I mean, I had all the neons, I had every camo that you could, all the Gorilla Tape, and I hadn't written a song with Casey in a while, It had been like a year since I seen him, and Luke and I were together one day, and Luke had this duct tape heart idea, and I was just like, that sounds fun. I had an obsession when I was a kid. Let's do it. You know, that one's just pure fun, and it sounds like those, like, not rockabilly, but those blues rock tunes that, you know, with a Western flair in there, makes for a good time.
Heavens to Betsy, you were not going to record, right? Was the idea to just play? I don't. But then you did.
That song had such a crazy journey, man. That went from a acoustic demo, and
Well, tell me about it. Tell me about all of it, like even the demo.
that was written on Music Row, right down the road. Driver Williams, Benji Davis, and myself. And Driver walked in the door with that title. And the first thing that popped into my head was quite literally the flash of a picture frame, which is worth every word that was written, of a daddy looking down on his daughter from the outskirts, right outside the gate, onto his daughter. It's literally a little picture frame. And I think when the video comes out, it's going to make a lot more sense. But he's sitting there on the outside of the gates, on the outskirts of this cloud, on a CB, hoping that transmission goes through. You know, that's the first thing that flashed in my head when it came out of his mouth. That I've carried with me since that first time it came out of his mouth. That's why I love it, is because that's such... And if you listen to the words that he says, it is so brutally heartbreaking to know. I mean, we've seen that dynamic play out too many times. You know, I've seen this song work grown men to tears and grown women to tears. And all the music that is behind it is everything that man left unsaid and all the love that was never given. And that's why it's a little bit more intense than a few of the others, you know.
You know, music gets me because I love my dogs and love my dog. I mean, I have a couple dogs that were with me 10, 12, 13 years. And like Carl, that was your dog?
Mm-hmm. It's my first one.
And so obviously, if you're going to write something about Carl, why was Carl such a great dog?
He was just the first one. He is all white and one brown ear. I had him from the time he was about yay big. No, Carlito was quite a legend, man. He was my shotgun rider at a lot of places, especially when I got my Bronco. But no, man, he was just fast as grease lightning, dude, and just one of the best dogs I've ever had in my life.
And he's big blue sky, right?
He is. He died, and his brother went about 2 weeks after him, right within the same time. So he died while we were out on the Blake Shelton tour, and we had written it just a little prior to that. But he never saw the road, he never saw the bus, never saw any of that. Just like Betsy, that's a picture frame. That is quite literally a dog running up over a hill into the sunset. You know, it's just scoring that moment, and the elongation of that moment, you know. But that's Ode to Carl. Big Blue is Ode to Carl. This classic American huge rock, and just bash it away, you know. Ode to Carl.
What do you do that's not music? Like, what's fun?
I tell you, it's hard to have hobbies in this business. You know, when I get off the road, it's kind of just like, hey, don't die, so you can come back here in a couple of days and do this again. I try to get out in the woods as much as I possibly can.
Did you just travel a bunch? Did I see that? Where did you go?
Well, just this year, we've been...
Like, not music travel, not tour, but did you just travel, like, were you traveling by yourself?
Oh, we went to Taos. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're not talking about Singapore. And...
No, I am talking about all that. Like, yeah, talk about...
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So, wait.
We've done a full trip around the globe already this year. Berlin, Rotterdam,
Is that fun for you?
London. It was a wild time. It was really the first couple of days getting over there are always chaotic, but once you're over there, I love it. It's great. My girlish figure gets worked on, and I drop a few pounds because everybody's walking so much. It's a really great time over there. But then go from London, Singapore, Australia, L.A., and then back. So literally took off to the east, and then I came back from the west.
Yeah, you went all the way around.
Yeah, all the way around.
Yeah, that's crazy when you say it like that.
Yeah, and then right back to tour here.
What other trip were you talking about?
I went out to Taos for about a week. I stayed in one of those Earth ships.
I don't know what Taos is. You have to help me.
Taos, New Mexico.
Mm-mm.
It's right above, so Taos is here. You can see Wheeler Mountains right there, and then you look this way.
I've been to Albuquerque. That's about it.
You need to go to Santa Fe.
I don't know if I've ever been to Santa Fe. Santa Fe feels more New Mexico.
It's great. It's a great vibe.
What happened in Taos? What do you like about it?
It was just nothing but sage and mountains in the distance, and just I needed to clear my head, and that was in the break that we were talking about earlier. I gave the boys about a month and some change, but I went out there for about a week and stayed in an Earth ship, which it's got a 30-foot garden on the inside of it. It's all self-sustaining, all that kinds of stuff.
It's called a what?
A Earth ship.
And what's it shaped like? A boat or a spaceship?
Half of it is built into the ground. Most of the time, they're pretty flattish. You know what I mean?
Have air conditioning?
Big glass. Nope. It's concrete slab.
I'm out.
No, it stays like 63 year-round.
Oh, that's not bad then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sick.
Bugs?
I'll send you a link.
A lot of bugs?
No, not particularly. I mean, it's a house.
Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm back in.
Yeah,
See, I was out, but now I'm back in. If
I'll
it's
send
63.
I'll send you the link.
And so you go out there, and what's the goal when you go out or a place like this? I'm assuming you're either by yourself or with a very select few people, and you're just spending evenings doing what? Like, how do you get out of your head?
What I can tell you on podcast. Really, here in months of late, sonic exploration. You get into these ruts where you're like, man, there's nothing that we're listening to here that's musically inspiring, and you just gotta hunt for that stuff. I most of the time have tunes rolling all the time, wherever I am.
Do you mean music rolling like in your head, or music that you're just listening to?
Listening to.
What's your comfort music? Meaning, because I have different versions of the music that I listen to. If I want to just not pay attention to music and have on what I like, I'm going to put on John Mayer, Counting Crows. Just like I watch The Office at night, because I'm not really watching it to watch it, but I love it, and I just need it on. It makes me feel comfortable. I already know it. It puts me in a calm place. Like, that's that for me. What's that for you?
Put me in a calm place.
Like Ben Folds, that'll be what I put on, that I don't have to like listen to see if I like it. Like, it doesn't matter. I love all of that. Now, if I'm doing whatever, a different type of music exploration, but I'm like, a couple friends have sent me some artists. Like, check them out.
Yeah.
I'm listening to that way different than I'm listening to.
That's dissection.
Yeah. So what is your comfort? What's your comfort music that you're going to put on if you're just going to chill?
There's a record of a band that opened for us about 2 years ago, and they're from Richmond. Wild band. But the record itself, it's self-titled. It's called Holy Roller. And it's just some of the best, like, it's not even that it's just chill. It's just like, it's the best kind of chilling music that I have on my phone as a project as a whole, top to bottom. You can let that thing, you just hit play right at the top and let it go. And
Perfect album to you?
Yeah.
What are some other perfect albums? I'll give you a couple as I'll let you think. I think Same Trailer, Different Park, Casey Musgraves, to me, that feels like a perfect album. I think Continuum from John Mayer feels like a perfect album. Meaning there's no skips, right? I'm not going to write, boom, make it red and disappear from your list. Those two are perfect. What about you?
I just had one on the tip of my tongue, dang it.
It's probably both of mine because you're like, dang, that's a great point, Bobby.
You
You bring up excellent music.
I don't know. Probably the Audio Slave.
Oh yeah, man. I watched some of those Chris Cornell videos of him singing.
That man
in a studio. Oh my god,
that man opened vortexes to other dimensions.
Dude, and I would go, okay. I roll my eyes. Usually when someone would say something like that, I watched him sing with Temple of the Dog. You know, before
I'm hungry.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
And it was like, it seemed effortless and so full of effort at the same time and just perfect.
He's laser beamed. He laser beamed everything that came out of his mouth. Dude, it's just it's,
like the best. Maybe
he's probably at the front of my Mount Rushmore, right next to Robert Plant.
Chris Cornell, one of the best ever.
Oh yeah. We've been talking about covering Audio Slave forever, and just God, it's just so high, you know,
and stays high.
Yeah.
Like he starts high and goes higher. I'm going high. I mean, I can't even play it. But I'll get in my algorithm on TikTok because I love Chris Cornell. And my favorites are just the live, like him singing at concerts or him in a studio or him just, they'll isolate the raw vocals. And it's like, how can someone do this without it being manipulated by technology? And he's one of those rare. Yeah. Super rare.
Yeah.
Crazy. Robert Plant, though, too.
Oh, yeah. In terms of unpredictability, especially in his live stuff, you know, where you think he would go up, where a regular person would go up, he goes down, or where you go down, he goes up, you know. Those isms that not only him, Cornell, everybody on my Mount Rushmore does, yeah, man, that's all vocal control, man. That's badass.
Who else is on that list? Singers?
Just out of nostalgia and the overall demeanor that I wanted to carry in the beginning of when I set out to do this was Cash, man. Johnny Cash, dude, just all around American badass with one of the most iconic voices of all time and will forever be that way. But really for all those really low down, all that low down singing that he did, because he's not a high singer. He's very low and tough. You know what I mean? And then there's Waylon.
Did your dad listen to a lot of Waylon?
My dad listened to a lot of Merle. My mom loved Waylon.
Two pretty strong influences. If you have it coming from both sides, you got Merle one, Waylon the other.
Yeah, man.
They argue about who was better.
My mom was not that confrontational about music as her offspring was.
So what's the goal with this record? Like, what do you want people to feel, hear, do?
There's some songs on this record that are designed to pull at your heartstrings. There's some on here that are designed to make you move your feet and sway your hips. And there's some on here that are supposed to make you want to run through a brick wall. At least how I digest music, man, I need something appropriate for the appropriate time for what I am feeling at the time. There's a lot of different emotions happening here, and they all operate at the extreme ends of those emotions. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you challenged yourself to write and record this record to where it almost got a little bit uncomfortable because you're really pushing it? Oh,
yeah, I pushed hard, you know. But just like we were talking about earlier, you got to know what you're capable of, you know. This is a really big project that has taken a good while to put together, you know. And it is vocally a hard record, man. It's up there, you know.
Do you ever wonder when you record a song and it's a really hard record to record, whenever you're going to perform it live, why did I record that song like this? Because now I got to sing it every night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a version of what I'm saying about pushing yourself. Like, that's pushing yourself to do it and then know you're going to have to always do it that way.
Mm-hmm. And it's knowing that I can do it is what I'm after. Like, being able to do it outside of the studio. I mean, we've been playing Big Blue and Train and Sweet Appa and a couple of these other songs out on the road for a while, and we're doing it, you know. But that is the other side of that coin, is not only being able to do it in studio, but to be able to do it live every night and push yourself that much further and that much harder. Ain't nobody ever going to be able to take that away.
Well, then you're going to go listen to tape of it.
Yeah, and dissect.
You're just
dissect
putting
it
yourself
all.
through it. But
Yeah,
you're getting better
man.
because of it. I mean, you keep putting yourself through it, you keep getting better.
It has worked wonders, not only for me but for my men as well. Because like the curse is like, we're never gonna know what we sound like on the other side of that PA fully, like in the flesh. You know, all the closest thing we will get is to a multi-track. So it's helped me immensely as a singer, and like I can hear where I'm running out of breath and where I'm pushing too hard and like where I need to open it all up and drop my jaw and all that stuff.
Do you talk much?
No, I do not. No, not on stage.
That would be what I would be afraid of. And I recorded a comedy special, and we've just gone through the edits, and I'm doing a talking special, and I hate me talking. And I think if I were listening back to myself, I'd be like, "Why don't say that between those songs? That sounds so stupid." But as you can tell, I hate myself for the most part. Because anything I listen, I'm like, "Oh, I hate me." But so you don't talk a lot, so you don't have to like criticize.
No, but we are our biggest critics.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to think about where we would be if we weren't.
Your biggest critics, but I think you also know how to celebrate what you're doing right and actually do that better too.
Yeah.
It's
weird.
It's pretty
weird
healthy,
talking.
Jackson. It's pretty healthy.
It's weird talking up there, man. And it's just, I'd rather let the songs speak for themselves, you know, and how I'm singing them songs speak for itself.
Last question. If I were to open your closet, is it all black?
The majority, yes. There might be some tan, some beige, but for the majority, yeah, it's black.
I'm severely colorblind with dark colors, so you could be wearing blue, but from what I know of you, it's mostly black. When you buy new clothes, is it mostly black?
Yeah.
You also can wear the same stuff over and over again, and nobody really even knows the difference because it's mostly all black anyway.
Exactly, man. I got 10 black pearl snaps that are some of the best show shirts I have ever had, and I got them a year ago, and they're all the same, just pitch black, just wonderful.
Well, I'm a big fan.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations on the record. You can follow Jackson. We mentioned a lot of this stuff before you came in the pre, but at the Jackson Dean, Jackson Dean Music, and you're doing some Miranda shows?
Yeah, man. We did Pearl, and yeah, man. We got a few of them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the real place to see Jackson, if you can see him do a whole freaking set when he's headlining it, that's where to see him. We have people that I'm very close to that are very close to you, and they love you. I like you a lot. They love you. So, all right. Thank you guys. And yeah, everything else will be in the notes. You can follow Jackson, and all the album information is there. All right. Nice. Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.